Today I want to talk about the idea that this life is some sort of spiritual school, which is kind of a common idea among New Agers and also certain spirituality communities. They may think that this world is some sort of school where we're supposed to learn lessons and grow as spiritual beings, or maybe complete some sort of mission before we can go back to the spirit realm from where we came. And this is also a common trope, or not trope, but a common theme among NDEs or near-death experiences, where basically someone, for example, dies on a surgery table. They go up to some spirit realm where they encounter maybe religious figures or perhaps deceased loved ones, like maybe their grandma or something like that. And these entities then tell them to go back to Earth to learn some spiritual lessons or perhaps complete a mission before they can go to heaven or whatever spiritual realm they seek to enter. And then they go into the tunnel of light and they're back in their body. And this is something that's kind of common among NDEs, but it's not universal. There are many NDEs that have no experience whatsoever, so it's like a dreamless sleep kind of experience. Basically, my thoughts are about life being a spiritual school is that I don't think it is, because it would be a crappy school if that were the case. Let's take this life school thing and compare it to an actual school in this physical world that we inhabit. Now, if you're in middle school, for example, and you go to classes, you learn lessons, you maybe remember some stuff and forget other stuff, but hopefully you retain at least some knowledge that you learned during your middle school classes. And then you graduate middle school and you go to high school. Now, in this case, when you enter high school, you forget everything that you learned in middle school and you start as a blank slate and have to work forward from that. So that's kind of how this life school thing would kind of work, because I don't personally remember, like if reincarnation is real, then I don't remember anything from any previous lives or anything like that, and nobody I know remembers anything. We just kind of ended up here and we have to deal with this situation. So there are some people who claim to remember details from past lives, but these could also be scams or something, because this is not a common experience. That's kind of how I think that this is not really a school, because there's not really anything that we retain from any past lives. And then also, what is there really to learn in this place? You know, this place, it revolves around suffering. That's something that everyone has to experience. Now, we can learn that suffering sucks, that suffering is bad, that pain is bad, we should avoid it, or at least mostly avoid it. There are some situations where suffering or pain can result in some sort of beneficial things. Like, for example, if you work out, that may suck in the beginning, but when you start to see results, then it's going to be something that causes you to feel at least satisfied that your body maybe looks a bit better, or you're maybe stronger than you were previously. And you can also, for example, work hard on a business idea, and if it pans out and you become a successful businessman, maybe that gives you some enjoyment, some satisfaction. But it could equally go the other way around. So if you work out, maybe you work out too hard and you get like some sort of permanent injury that makes it so that you can't really realize your dream of being an athlete or something like that. And also with businesses, they can go under, they can bankrupt you. Yeah, there are bad situations like that. And then also babies who are born with genetic diseases or cancers, or they get cancer at a very young age, and then they suffer terribly and they pass away. What do you have to learn from that? Like, what is there to learn from that experience? There's, at least for the child, there's nothing to learn other than pain sucks and suffering sucks. And also for the parents, like, it would be a bit cruel if there is truly a creator that kind of sacrificed this child to somehow teach the parents something. That kind of seems unfair and unjust. So what else is there to learn here? Like, that brings me kind of to my other point here, that one thing that you learn is that, you know, evil people get away with crimes, and wickedness is sometimes rewarded in this world. It's not there's no universal justice thing where every wicked person gets punished according to their crimes. That's just something that does not really happen. If the wicked people have enough wealth and they have enough power, are then able to kind of get away with all kinds of stuff. So there doesn't seem to be any justice like that, but people kind of cope with religion and that God will certainly punish the wicked people in the afterlife or something like that. And that's just a cope. That's just to make this situation a bit more digestible, a bit more palatable for the average person. So now we've learned that suffering sucks, pain sucks, evil people get away with evil deeds. And what else is there? Well, there's finally also the fact that being a good person is often a thankless job. And good people don't get what they deserve. Good people are often taken advantage of, and it costs you something personal to be a good person. Now, I'm not saying to not be a good person in general, like being a decent person. Like, I do really think the golden rule is a good thing. So do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if everyone, or at least most people, followed this rule, the golden rule, generally speaking, if people generally followed the golden rule, then I think this world would be a bit more tolerable for everyone. But that's just not always how it works. Sometimes good people, they get the raw end of the deal, and that's just how it is. So this is not a very this is not a very good place to be in, actually. What else is there? There doesn't seem to be any higher meaning to any of this. The purpose of life, however, there does seem to be some clarity on that we have discovered through science. So biological life seems to just be driven to survive and procreate, so that the next generation can survive and procreate, so that the next generation can survive and procreate. And evolution doesn't seem to have any higher goal or anything like that we are aware of anyway. It's just adaptation. So if some organism is in an environment and the environment changes, then the organism has to either migrate somewhere else or it has to adapt to that environment and survive through that. But if it can't adapt, then it dies off, and then other organisms which can adapt, they take the resources for themselves and survive in that environment according to however they can do that. So that's kind of the purpose of life. It's just kind of a blind will of nature that drives it forward. But as for, a higher purpose or anything, there doesn't seem to be one, or a higher meaning as to why all of this is happening. We just don't know. We don't know. But maybe that's also kind of a good thing in a sense, because then you're not under as much of a pressure to perform, I guess. If you think this is all kind of pointless. Like I do realize that some people can be driven to despair by the pointlessness, whereas for others it might be a bit liberating even. Remember to like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I do read my comments, and see you again in the next video. Okay, thanks, bye.